Dear Pisces, hello. Let's take a look at the upcoming month of July. There's a very important process happening here, both for the soul and for taking a deep, sweet breath. This summer, get inspired by celebration, by the happy moments that Jupiter brings this month. And in fact, for the whole following year, Jupiter will be in the sign of Cancer, and it can bring a very important wave of relaxation. And Jupiter knows that it's very good to start relaxing already at the end of June. The new moon and the theme of establishing an emotionally cozy, comfortable, Slavic, serene, and affectionate atmosphere are present. And also, the opportunity to do nothing is very important. Yes, you don't have to do anything. You can just hang out at the beach. You can relax surrounded by your loved ones and allow a bit of idleness and serenity to fill your life with peace. And Jupiter in July will constantly be hovering somewhere on the horizon. And in this case, you need to give yourself a chance to immerse yourself in the serene atmosphere and time and try to find it on weekends or during the week. This is the magic of serenity. Can become incredibly restorative for you, giving you true rest. This is an extremely important point. It might sound very superficial, like, what's the big deal, man? Just go relax somewhere, take a break. What's there to really get about that? One thing to note is that over the last 3 years, 2023, 2024, and 2025, Saturn has been moving through your sign, through the water element. Saturn is a heavy planet, it's exhausting for the soul, and at times it even brings a kind of depressive undertone. And in a way, Saturn was in the water element, which is originally associated with relaxation. And even if you wanted to relax, to rest, to exhale, and just enjoy peace and tranquility, Saturn was still always there in the background, suffocating you a little bit. And in a way, over the past 3 years, you may have simply forgotten how to rest. You may have simply forgotten how to just relax. Feels like Saturn on a global scale has touched every cell, every fiber of your reality, every molecule of the air around you has been filled with this heavy feeling, and it's just hard to breathe, hard to run. And even when it comes to some goals or ambitions that you're supposed to be pursuing, but I just end up lying down in the direction of my goal, just lying there. That's what the last 3 years have been like psychologically. Even when you wanted to relax, it was as if Saturn just wouldn't let you have that feeling of simply living, of just not stressing out. Even if you went to a health resort or on vacation somewhere, there was still this background heaviness. And the reason I'm talking about this feeling now is because Saturn has now left your sign, hasn't it? You exhale, you should be able to relax, but it already feels unfamiliar, like everything is just tense everywhere, and you just let it be. The tension is in your muscles, and it's also there in your mindset. There's this general kind of depressive undertone that always comes from Saturn, and it's been a running theme over the last 3 years. And you're not just physically tired, but also emotionally burned out. And now, any attempt to just relax and take a break, it basically feels that way now, especially considering the whole general geopolitical situation. I'm telling you this because, guys, right now in July, and really starting from the end of June, Jupiter in the sign of Cancer is the main planet that can let you relax so deeply in a way you haven't just not dreamed of in recent years, but have actually forgotten what it even feels like. But this is happening with Jupiter in this sign. Cancer is when you allow and permit yourself to literally take a few days off, go somewhere, relax, and not think about anything at all. Maybe go away to a village somewhere. Maybe go off into some completely meaningless story, some space, and just disconnect. And at some point, you know how it sometimes happens, when I used to travel a lot to India, and I have a lot of friends who go there too. When you're sitting on the beach, you realize a week has gone by, and it feels like you just got there. And this feeling of timelessness, if you manage to catch it here at the end of June, throughout July, and really from time to time during the rest of the year, your soul will start to thaw. Your inner state, all those psychological blocks, will start to let go. And at some point, you'll suddenly feel like you can breathe again. Because for the past 3 years, it felt like even the air was heavy and dense. Just to breathe, boss, you know. But this will only happen if you give it the space to happen. If you start going out into nature, if you let yourself rest and just allow yourself at times to do nothing at all. It's exactly in this state that your inner tension suddenly starts to loosen. And at some point, you come back to the feeling that you are truly alive. And that's why every time in my forecasts, when I comment somewhere that Jupiter has been activated, you know what to do. Remember this golden, radiant thought written in these golden words. Relax. Don't do anything. Give yourself the chance to rest and catch your breath. I hope you've heard my main message, and this message actually applies to the entire upcoming year, because Jupiter and Kuznecrad moved at the very end of June, and it already made itself known there. It was supposed to pull you out somewhere into a space of relaxation, as if the world belonged to no one, and it will continue to do so. It will remain there until June of next year. You need to learn to give yourself a break. But if we talk about June, besides Jupiter, there's another very tough, buzzing planet like a bumblebee, Mars. In the sign of Virgo, like a bumblebee, it can bite. Like a bumblebee, it can sting. It's connected to the node of the past. This could mean a return to some previous job, a return to past contacts, to a former employer, to the past. Some tough conditions where you have to grind, where you have to work seriously. And against this contrast, on one hand, there's the need to let yourself learn to just exhale to start with. Sometimes, in some places, even do nothing at all, just recover. So, I'll say it straight. The last 3 years have been pretty tough, but this year, with Jupiter in the sign, Cancer until June 2026 is at times like a health resort. Give yourself the chance to be in that state where you just go somewhere like a health resort, do nothing, lean into that direction. Oleg, go for a walk. But there's also the exact opposite within this July. It's that kind of hard work that makes your teeth grind. And now, in this forecast, I'll go over the dates when Jupiter will be activated and when this hard work under Mars in Virgo will kick in. I'll also talk about an important, very significant event that will happen at the end of July. It's the new moon in Leo, which is of enormous importance for Pisces. It gives a very powerful push to a new level of ambition and personal fulfillment. In this video, there will be 5 key storylines. Somewhere I'll talk about these psychological aspects, somewhere about specific financial events. Because here you really need to work hard and earn, but at times it will sound like you need to pull yourself together, to gather yourself out of this scattered state. The video covers 5 key events. Each of them might work out great for you or might just pass you by. This is because you have your own birth date, and below the video, you'll find a link to a free calculation. You enter your data in this calculator, and you'll get a list of all these general events. Those are general forecasts. It's just about how the stars are positioned in the sky. For each event, you'll see from 1 to 5 plus signs, depending on your birth date, showing how significant that event is for you. This is a little tool to help you see, within the general forecast, what matters specifically for your birth date. I also have a private Telegram channel. You'll find a link below the video to subscribe to it. It's a paid subscription, and there are tons of tools and services there, including forecasts tailored specifically to your birth date. These are forecasts for your personal events, not just the general ones for everyone, but specifically what's happening with your own planets. There you'll find weekly, monthly, and yearly formats, so you can see the bigger picture and also dig into the details of each week's specific aspects. The forecast is available right up to the end of the year, and you can view it in any level of detail by the hour or by the month. There's also early access to videos there. For example, this video will be available as early as June 15th on this private channel, while in the public domain I'll release it much later. So that's why there's early video access there. There's an AI assistant there, and a lot of lessons that help beginners get the hang of things. You can find out where a planet is, how it works in general, a ton of useful stuff. So let me wrap this up, and now let's break down the 5 key storylines. The first thing I'd like to talk about is the beginning of the month, from July 1st to 5th. Here, the black moon comes into play, the black moon. This isn't something that actually exists in the sky, meaning it's not a specific or physical object. It's a part of the moon's orbit that's at its farthest point. So the moon's orbit, it's not perfectly round. It's more like a ball in American volleyball. And this farthest point of the moon's orbit, where the moon is at its maximum distance from us, is called the black moon point. Just that object, that thing where like the far corner of a room where scary stories exist, where you can't see anything that's happening, and sometimes it just feels like pure horror. When the black moon is activated, people seem to start imagining and coming up with all sorts of scary things. Here, from the 1st to the 5th, something like this might arise. Some kind of hang-up, some jealousy, some fear, something emotional inside gets hooked, starts spinning, and it blows up into such a huge deal that you wonder how you're supposed to live with that jealousy afterwards. But then, as soon as you start to actually look into the situation, it turns out the whole thing wasn't even worth a hill of beans. The black moon disappears when you shine a light into that far corner of the room and simply realize there's actually nothing there at all. Oh, how much imagined and blown out of proportion. That's why a key thing, especially in these first 5 days, is knowing when to put on a show. Don't get worked up and don't drag others into it if you feel it coming on. If you start feeling jealous, turbulent, doubtful, or even a bit of dislike, whatever it is, go straight to the person and talk it out openly and directly. By clarifying things, being open, and bringing light to the situation, it immediately stops being a black moon scenario. And there are a few points. The black moon creates emotional dramas, like a Brazilian soap opera. Mars acts powerfully, intensely. The black moon will create a Brazilian soap opera this fall, in October and November. Right now, it will only start to stir things up indirectly, somewhere in the background. But in October and November, it will be a full-on Brazilian soap opera with 50 episodes. And it will be very interesting, intriguing, but at the same time, really complicated. Now, I'll add a few words for those with this on the ascendant. The black moon is moving through, most likely, the 8th house. And since it's a fictitious point, it basically comes across as The 8th house is about other people's money, and Black Moon in the 8th house promises someone else, a partner or business partner, is making a promise about money, but in reality, a Black Moon can also be moving through the 7th house. Either way, both scenarios are possible here. If it's also moving through your 7th house, then, well, you see the 7th house here starts with Virgo, Libra, and maybe part of Scorpio. If it's in the 7th house, it's a Black Moon communication, with intrigues, passions, made-up things, and tough characters. We all keep moving forward. The next key event here is around the 3rd, or it happens, Capricorn, and this is lightning fast. It's tough. How do I put it? I like the word. I think it's from Estonian law. So there, Terabaka, the whole of June is about being pulled between two extremes. This is about emotionally relaxing, stop stressing, just do nothing. Take a break. That's Jupiter, the sign of Cancer. And the other extreme is Terabaka, work. And here, this full moon really sharply pushes you towards making money, working. Roll up your sleeves and get started. Grab your gadget, get to it. This is that state of tough, raw energy. At the same time, the node of the past kicks in here, which says, Kate, work. I know, I've already been through so much. Well, I know how to do this, and it's about going back, in a way, to the past, to some former employer, to some old career tasks, to some old acquaintances. Where did you really have to work your butt off? Now there's a return to that, and you can make good money from it, but it's not about emotional pleasure or relaxation. It's exactly about this kind of tough, intense work process. At the same time, an important part here is that Mars 9 comes into play, Mars 9. In fact, it's not just about being a hard worker, but also an intellectual. This can be very serious mental work. It's when you have to make 50 reports every day and do that for a whole week, for example. Basically, you have to process a huge amount of information so that your brain is literally working at its limit. Everything is just boiling and bubbling inside. And this feeling of forcing your brain from all the hard work, it will be very present here, and there's absolutely no sense of peace. If there are moments of Jupiter, by the way, moments of Peter also get activated. I would expect the 8s, they can play a role, get activated. So, from time to time, especially on Sunday the 5th and 6th, and then probably again on Sunday the 13th, the repetition doesn't really matter. Here in this section, most likely adrenaline will be at work along with financial results. Here, most likely, the relevant thing is that a very important intellectual component of this period is Uranus, the little flag, which is associated with super receiving and skill. To master a greater volume of information, nests Gemini, the sign of lightness, naturalness, intuition, and quick acquisition. July is truly exceptional in that it charges the mind with such a huge amount of mental work. It is often said that the mind neither truly sleeps nor properly eats, and at certain times it genuinely feels as though your brain is completely fried, exhausted, and utterly overwhelmed. But overall, there's definitely a rush and adrenaline here. Now, another point, the full moon is in Capricorn, okay, but it also activates Mars, which is moving through Virgo. And here's the nuance. If you're a Pisces, then most likely you have your ascendant or some planets in the sign of Pisces. Honestly, it would be a good idea for you to build your own natal chart. See which degrees your planets are in the sign of Pisces. and track when Mars will actually be passing through those positions. Your degrees. For example, right now on the 10th, it's at the 13th degree. For example, I have Mars at the 15th degree, so there will be a direct conflict there, a real burst of energy, lots of adrenaline, and this influence of Mars can really drain you. Because it will constantly demand an adrenaline release, especially when it passes through degrees exactly opposite your degrees in Pisces. But those are subtle details, not everyone knows them, so I won't dive into that now. I'll just say a couple of words. For reference, Mars will be at its most conflicted when it crosses this descendant line. And of course, it will start to symbolize the people you have conflicts with, or a very energetic, aggressive, driven person who's charged up for work. But at times, this particular individual can possess a very Mars-like, indeed quite combative temperament, and that is precisely what is being highlighted and emphasized here. Now, specifically on July 14th and 15th, the moon will be in your sign and will be activated in the most beautiful way. That very Jupiter I mentioned in the first 5 minutes. And then in the video, I didn't talk about how you've been worn out over the last few years. And now there's a planet that can literally breathe new life into you. But this planet works in such a way that you need to be idle, you just need to lie down. And it's best to lie down in nature, preferably surrounded by something pleasant, comfortable, and relaxing, and you'll just soak up life. But Jupiter in the sign of Cancer, which requires close people, doesn't require you to be completely relaxed. And here, on the 14th and 15th, these energies are activated. So one of the main pieces of advice is not to overload yourself. You can do some work or chores, but give yourself the chance to go for a walk, do nothing, and not overload your mind or yourself. With all this hustle and bustle, because on the 12th there will be plenty to keep you busy, a big engine will get going, and you'll be in some kind of intense mode on the 14th and 15th. Just accept and understand that if you don't take care of yourself this fall, no one else will. Maybe it's time to turn the situation around again, because it's your responsibility to restore your strength thanks to the planet that can help you recover. That opportunity is still here. The task is for you to organize things from above and allow yourself to do so. It's like metaphorically putting yourself on a 4 drip so you can recharge. Right here on the 14th and 15th, give yourself the maximum chance to recover. And if, again, it's Monday, the 14th and 15th are like a pull-up bar for you. If you manage to push through and get to work, maybe celebrate a little and do what you want to do. Focus on your emotions, your feelings, music, love. Open yourself up to emotions, because over the past 4 years, you've really put yourself through a lot. Maybe not life itself, but still. Now you have the chance, you're here for your own sake. The node of the future plays a huge role here. It's the feeling that I am being reborn in this world. It's as if I have a brand new idea. Even in my appearance, I start to look different. And youth plays a huge role in this future node. The more you interact with kids and the younger generation, the more you start to absorb that youthfulness yourself. It's just like in fairy tales, where Ivan jumps into one cauldron, then another, then a third, and comes out all rejuvenated and full of energy. That's exactly the process happening now, both with Jupiter and with this node of the future. These are 2 influences that can breathe life into you, make your eyes wake up, shine, and rejoice. So much so that you can finally exhale, and just for a while, at least simply be happy. And this rejuvenation process can be significantly triggered if you have, so to speak, young blood around you. If there are some young people around, if there is grandchildren, children, maybe some club, maybe you go to see your kids' theater performances, to clap for them and be happy for them. And at the same time, suddenly realize that, hey, I actually feel good here. Stardust benefits, kindergarten, we'll sort it out in the spirit, let in some young blood. It's like that metaphor with an four-drip, a transfusion. But really, it's this feeling that you're under this influence, these signs of Petersburg. Cancer, honestly, it's like you're getting a four-drip, your energy gets renewed, your life force is refreshed. Just give this process space, time, and opportunity, and don't stress about work. Although here in July and August, there will actually be plenty of reasons to get overwhelmed, just more than enough, like what's coming up from July 7th to 12th. You could easily get so completely caught up in absolutely everything there that, whether you truly want to or not, you might inevitably end up just running entirely on empty. Please don't ever let yourself get to that critical point. Break time equals 0.5s/now. Let's carefully look at the specific dates from the 17th to the 22nd. Here we clearly have another very important and significant influence coming into play. Once again, the energy is pretty intense, and these vibes really take center stage here. On these dates, Mars is also involved, and it's connecting with the node of the past. It's like a whole cluster, not quite a full-on factory where everything's running at full tilt, but again, with Mars involved, you might find yourself drawn to intellectual work, maybe even a team of really sharp people. Just being around them, you can feel it. And this mental activity, you can literally feel it in the air. It's like you can hear the gears grinding, brains working, problems being solved. The process is in full swing, and it's a really productive time if you're ready to ride that mental drive. But it can also be pretty exhausting because honestly, it's just a mental overload. You might get tired from all of it, but if you're a fan of mental activity, if you enjoy brain teasers, again, this energy is really strong here. There's also a knot from the past, which might mean that the start of the year will be very much about old matters. It's like where there was a lot of work in the past, most likely it'll be the same kind of rushed work now, but with very clear actions. But there are also signs that there will be good financial results. Maybe it's about life bringing you hardworking, active, smart, and energetic partners through whom a lot in your life can be resolved. You know, for you, it's already quite obvious. No, you've known this for a very long time, and because of that, there's even a slight bit of boredom. Break time equals 0.5s/, however. In terms of actual productivity, there's a truly real result here, especially for those individuals with this as their astrological ascendant. Break time equals 0.5s/. Just to clarify further, here we are specifically talking about Mars in the 7th house. These are tough, aggressive, proactive, result-oriented, and efficient partners whom you already know, someone from your past. This could actually be your ex-husband or ex-wife. In other words, someone who perhaps stayed behind somewhere in the past. But now they're coming back into your life and once again helping to resolve material, earthly matters, or assisting you with some financial issues. Or this person displays a very tough, incredibly down-to-earth, and truly grounded character. And again, Mars is usually quite conflict-prone, often leading to disagreements. It's not that easy to come to an agreement with someone like this. They tend to be a bit rough around the edges. But on the other hand, under this Mars influence, you could have an excellent team of repairmen who will come in and do a major renovation for you, getting a lot of useful and constructive things done. These people are very hardworking and industrious, but at times you might find them a bit boring. So here, you'll have to look for a compromise that's comfortable and suitable for you. And now, let's move on, probably to what could even be called the absolute main event of the upcoming July in the Leo sign camp, the significant new moon. This happening in the powerful sign of Leo, and it is strongly associated with gaining considerable strength. Break time equals 0.5s/. Let me further clarify this point. Your primary and most significant assertion is that absolutely no one is truly initiating their very own, in my considered opinion, extensive 15-year cycle, and precisely right here, in the vibrant spring season of this current year, no one has actually entered the astrological sign of Taurus, and from this pivotal spring moment onward, it's almost as if you are profoundly waking up, as if you are truly being reborn into a new existence. This is what I mentioned in the yearly forecasts, like our Yelenovets climbing down from the stove.